Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I am going to summarize the novel Sons and Lover. Sons and Lover is a novel written by D.H Lawrence and published in 1913. The novel tells the story of the relation between parents and the relation of parents with their children. And the novel is divided into two parts. In the first part, a female character whose name is Gertrude, who is from a middle class family. She meets a young miner whose name is Walter Morrill at a country dance. Though she was a religious girl who disliked drink, is attracted to Walter Morrill. She thinks he is a very handsome and wealthy man. She marries with him after a few months. Uh, we- the first few months of their marriage are happy, but after a few months, she discovered that he is not as wealthy as she believed. She also discovered that he hasn't his own house and living in a rent house. She disliked life in mining community. It means the community where she and her husband, Mr. Morrell, are living is a miner community who dig minerals. She gives birth to a child who she names William. She lost interest in Mr. Morrell and the bond of marriage between them widened after the birth of William. One day she downstairs and finds Mr. Morrell cuts off the ear of the child. Has this action increased space between them? In the second part, when William is old enough, he gets a job as a clerk and is very successful. At first, William visits home a lot and sends the money to his family. As time goes on, he gets caught up in city life and spends money on his fiancée, whose name is Luza. Not long after this, he contracts pneumonia and dies, which causes severe grief to Mrs. Morrell, mean his mother. There is another character whose name is Paul, the next son of Mr. Morrell and Mrs. Morrell, grows into an intelligent young man and takes a job as a clerk like William. Paul too is struck down with pneumonia. His mother, Mrs. Morrell, does everything in her power to nurse him back to health. As he recovers, he develops an unusual relation with a girl whose name is Miriam, who is very timid, religious, and intellectual. Mrs. Morrell dislikes her and thinks that she is bad for Paul. Miriam and Paul continue their relationship and both wish to become a couple but do not know how to do so. One afternoon, Paul is invited to Miriam's house to have tea with Clara Davis. Clara Davis is another female character. Paul finds Clara impressive and attractive. They become friends. Paul gets a job in the factory for Clara, where Paul is working. During the summer, Paul and Miriam get engaged, but Paul breaks engagement after several weeks. Baxter Davis, who is the ex-husband of Clara Davis, finds out about the relation of Paul and Clara. They get into fight where Paul is little hurt. During this period, Mrs. Morrell health begins to decline. She is diagnosed with cancer. He stays with her to nurse her. Means Paul stays with his mother to nurse her. He learns that Baxter is also admitted in a near hospital. Paul visits him where Baxter and Paul become friends. After a few weeks, Mrs. Morrel is able to go home, but it is understood by everyone that she will not live long because she is infected by cancer. At the end, she dies and she is buried alongside William. Paul goes on a trip with Baxter and invites Clara to join them. Paul believes that Clara wishes to reconcile with the Baxter, meaning her ex-husband. She forgives Baxter and returns to Baxter as his wife. Paul wishes to die and he has no connection with life. One night he sees Miriam, who suggests to him that they should marry, but Paul rejects the suggestion. She decides to never see him in life and Paul wishes to die. Now I am going to discuss the plot construction diagram of the novel as well. Plot construction diagram consists of 5 parts. The first one is introduction, second one is rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. In the construction introduction part, as I mentioned in the summary that Gertrude meets with Mr. Morrel, and after a few weeks she marries with him. In rising action, William grows up and gets a job, but unfortunately he is stuck with pneumonia and dies. Then Paul gets a job and falls in love with Miriam and then with Clara. But his mother dislikes his relation with girls. Paul realizes that he can't love uh, while his mother lives. In climax, Mrs. Morrel gets cancer. She is admitted in hospital and then comes back to home. But everyone knows that she can't live long. Paul gives an overdose of morphine to decrease her pain. In falling action, Paul invites Clara. Baxter and Clara reconcile and start life once again. They move and leave Paul alone. In resolution, Paul sees Miriam. She invites him for marriage. He rejects the offer.